Hi everyone, it's Ben from Planted Tanks, and today I'm going to talk to you about the best livestock for your freshwater aquarium to help deal with some of that algae. So let's have a look at the top 5. Number 1 has to be snails. Now, snails can be a fantastic addition to your aquarium, especially when it comes to algae, keeping the glass clean, keeping plant leaves clean. There's normally a little bit of discussion around snails in the aquarium, mostly because a lot of them can breed, and you can have big problems if they're breeding and there's a really heavy bioload if you've got a huge amount. Malaysian trumpet snails are some of the worst. But there are a couple of kind of snails that are particularly good. Not only are they good cleaners, but they also can't breed in fresh water. They need brackish water. So it allows you to be able to have a number of snails that you feel safe are not going to prolifically breed in your tank. And this is where we get to our first recommendation and one of my favorite, and that's the Nerite zebra horn snail. It's an incredible species, really good at cleaning. It's got a beautiful appearance, a really nice shell that has these little horns that come out of it. And there's a lot of variety of these different types of Nerite snails. So if you go into your local aquarium shop and ask for a Nerite snail, try to get 2 or 3 of them, depending on the size of your tank. You can't go wrong. Really good place to start. Okay, number 2 in our list goes to the Amano shrimp. These are actually, they're not particularly attractive. They're kind of translucent. They get actually relatively big in size, but they're very easy to keep. And they are probably the best algae eating livestock you can have in your tank. You can get them from pretty much any local fish shop. They're relatively inexpensive. You can keep maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 together in a small nano tank, and they will really help keep everything crystal clear. They don't help solve big algae problems. If you have big hair algae, black beard algae, there's a number of algae that they won't eat. But when it comes to trying to keep the tank clear, there's no better, I think, fish or any kind of livestock that's better than these Amano shrimps. So it's definitely my number 1 recommended choice. They're really fun to watch. They'll attempt to breed, they'll carry eggs, but they won't be able to breed. They're quite hard to breed. You need brackish water. So in fresh water, you can't breed them, but my goodness, they are one of the best algae eaters you can buy. Number 3. I particularly like this one, not for its algae eating ability, more so it's just a really nice addition for your aquarium, and that's ornamental shrimp. And today I'm going to talk about, you'll see in the video, these are actually some of my Sakura red shrimp, Neocardina shrimp, or red cherry shrimp are very popular and easy to find. And they are good at eating algae, but you probably need about 7 or 8 of them to make up for 1 Amano shrimp. That's how good Amanos are at eating algae in comparison to the what I call ornamental shrimp, such as the Neocardinas, the red cherry shrimp, and they come in a variety of colours. They're really beautiful to watch. They're a lovely looking shrimp, add lots of colour into the aquarium. If you have a small nano tank and you don't have any big fish, they actually swim freely across the aquarium, which is also really cool to see. I would suggest getting a group of them, probably 6+. If you can actually get 10 or more, the more that you have, the better they do in a group. They obviously have very small bioloads, so you can have quite a few of them in your aquarium, but they're a really nice addition and will help eat some of the algae. Probably not as good as the other 2, but certainly something that's worth considering. Number 4, the Otto Catfish. This is a beautiful fish, one of my favorites, but I think people have sometimes difficulty with them. They are for heavily planted tanks. You want a lot of plants. You also don't want to overload your tank with too many algae eaters. You want to make sure there's enough for them to be able to do. You have to supplement their food. Any kind of blanched vegetables will also help supplement them. They'll eat wafers, algae wafers too. But they do need a really highly densely planted tank. They're great at algae, they're great at glass, but with the Amanos, a couple of the Nerite snails, they may not be necessary. But if you do want to put a few in your tank, I'd recommend having at least, again, 3, 4, 5. The more you can have of one species, the better and more natural behavior that you get. And so I'd always try to recommend the highest number that you can fit within the size of your aquarium. They are great at taking algae off leaves. They're fun to watch. They're a little bit more shy. Again, that's why you need that heavily planted tank. But they come in at number 4. So definitely worth considering and readily available at most fish shops. Now we're down to number 5, okay? And this is the Siamese Algae Eater. The reason it's 5 on the list and not number 1 is because of the size it gets to. These aren't really suitable for nanotanks. These need a substantially sized tank. I would be thinking in litres, 100 litres plus to be able to get you going. They do eat some kinds of algae. I think they are actually relatively good to be able to have keeping a tank clean. You don't necessarily need to have a heavily planted tank for these either, but the one thing that lets them down is that they do grow big. These aren't small fish. They're not suitable for nano aquariums, and the majority of things I talk about on my channel are smaller tanks. So I would rule these out if you haven't got a large capacity tank. But if you do, and you're looking for something with a lot of movement, something a bit bigger, something that will still attack and eat some of that algae, they are a fantastic fish and should definitely be looked at for those with those larger aquarium. So the Siamese algae eating fish is our number 5, and that's the end of the list. So 5 wonderful additions to your tank to be able to help keep up with the algae. And I'm sure most of you are aware, these are to try to keep algae at bay. They're not going to stop algae. It's not going to change conditions of your tank. So these are purely to try to keep your maintenance down, in particularly keeping the glass clean, keeping plants clean, and keeping everything looking nice. So it's more of a maintenance helper than it is trying to solve algae problems. If you do have algae problems, check out lots of other videos on YouTube that are available. But these are a really nice cleanup crew to be able to get you started, regardless of the size of your tank. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and click the like.